All right, so now moving on to the part three of this session on YII framework. We saw where we left. We saw that we were trying to now get into other things. We have a shell now which is open here for you, and this particular shell has 3 or 4 commands. And what we'll do now is we'll try to model our uh, uh, our objects here. So as we saw here, we have like this is the proposed database design for this particular application, and you see whatever has been designed as a table obviously would be a model at the end of the day in any kind of MVC framework, right? So now we want to create model for these particular tables. So having said that, I need these tables somewhere in my database so that I can create the model out of them. Now, if I'm doing everything myself, if I don't have a framework, and if I'm very well versed with what a model is, how it should be created, then it's all fine. But then these are the days where we can use frameworks without really bothering about what is the right way of creating the model, how we should do it, and so on and so forth. All right, so having said that, we will try to use this framework and try to kind of see how it can help me. All right, so now what is basically happening is that we have these commands which can help us starting that. So let's try to model something. I'll say model user. Okay, so this kind of throws exceptions here right now, saying that, hey, you're trying to model something, but I'm not yet connected to the database. So why don't you first fix that problem? Connect me to the database, because I'll be looking at this particular table called as user to model it. I thought, okay, that's a fairly appropriate exception to throw. So now very quickly, how do we connect to the database? We saw a configuration file earlier called as main.php. We will just kind of remove these database entries and put our database entries. Now before we do that, I want to kind of just okay, go to MySQL. Sorry. Just going to my database, and I have a database called as testdb. Just connecting there and just checking if I have tables there. I think I have done this many times, so I have some tables here. I'm gonna just kind of okay, let's keep the tables. I mean, why should I even drop them? I'll have to recreate them unnecessarily. So this is a table right here, which is a user table. You can see here, and I'm gonna just tell the framework. You should have tables in the database before you create models for them, and I'm going to tell the framework that go and connect to this database. So I have very quickly kept something somewhere to save time. How do we connect to a database? This is the entry that you have to do in your configuration file. I got it from their guide somewhere, and so I go to this file and kind of okay, let me just check it again. Okay, take a struct from the array and just close the array. So this is what it is. Let me quickly check my parentheses are matching. This goes here, this guy goes here, save this guy. Okay, and try this once again. Now the YII shell basically complains if you try this once again. It says that, you see, if you have done something, it understands. So the framework understands that you have done something, but you reconnect. Maybe it just keeps in the memory, that particular configuration file, which is okay. So we're gonna go out of this. Hopefully exit will work. Well, I keep getting this error. I just blame it on Vista and move on. Okay, so now again, kind of go inside the shell. We're right here, and now try modeling the user again. Model user. Okay. Alright, this time something happens, and it says that the following files were successfully generated, and these files are basically so these files were basically generated somewhere under some directory. I'm trying to figure out where. Well, that won't be difficult to figure out because the directories are very nicely laid out for you. You have a directory called as models. So I'll go inside this directory and see. You see already user.php is there, and other models were created for me earlier because something comes out of the box. Open this user.php. Let's see what it does. All right. Now here it looks nice when I see class and I see it gets extended from something because it looks like it's all, oops. Concepts in place, and we see that it has hit the database, got all the stuff from the database, and it has built few things around that. If you look very carefully to this particular table, you'll see that you cannot have username, passwords, and things like that null. So what the framework does for you is at the code level it builds it for you. It builds that particular validations for you, which is absolutely fine because my validations are getting built at the model level, which I always like in a framework. If the validations can be built at the model level, well, that is good enough. That is a place where your validation should be in any case. So I like that, and so the framework does a bit of work for me. So this is okay, and then there are a couple of other things like it has at the attribute level a couple of more things. Okay, so this comes out very nicely. Now we have this kind of file which got generated for you with a bit of validations on top of that. We'll see other things a little bit later when we go into the details. There are some other methods like relations, which I had mentioned earlier. Like if you have your database relations defined properly, you can basically override stuff here. So if the database design is nice, you override things here for that. You kind of define those relationships here in this framework's language, and what the framework in turn does for you is creates very good optimized queries for you. So that's a good thing. Now very quickly I'll create my models for all the things that I need so that we can move ahead. So I'll say model user, I'll say model post, I'll say model comment or comments, not sure, let us check. Comment, okay, model comment, and then I'll say model tag. Do I need to model these things? I mean, I'm thinking when I'm hitting that one by one. All right, why not? Because everything has a table in the database, and I need to kind of make a view out of it, or I need to kind of have a class out of that. So everything is a model. Okay, model tag. So we are done with this, and very quickly at the back, if you see under the models directory, I have everything getting generated right away, one by one. Okay, and to be similar in nature as we saw a model PHP file for user. Now let's move forward and see what is next. All right, so the next thing here is very important thing to see is here is we are doing CRUD on post and comment, CRUD on post and comment. Now that means that these are the two things which would basically do a create, a read, and update and delete. You will create a post, you will read a post, you will update a post, and you will delete a post. So these kind of operations need to be generated not for all the tables but only for two of them, which is right here. So what, the framework helps me in doing that. It's all I have to do is I have to say CRUD post and CRUD comment. Okay, so let us try to do that here very quickly. I'll say CRUD post and enter. Okay, that's something. You see a couple of files getting generated, and I say comment. Now it makes sense because these are the two things which will get created. Now at the back in the directory structure, where would that be? I would say that would be inside the controllers, because that is what is going to do any kind of database operations on my models. So the code is getting segregated nicely and easily into different layers, and the code is also getting generated. So it's not too bad, So when you look at a controller, let's say a post controller or a comment controller, if you open it very quickly, you'll see here code getting generated, which kind of allows you to insert data into the post table. Now this is a lot of code which got generated. We will see how and what this exactly this code means, but there are things like access rules. Now this is framework level understanding which we need to do. So with the framework dependency, a framework level understanding of how framework creates the code, or what kind of methods you have to override is always there, whether it's this framework or it is struts in Java or Spring or any other framework. Once we understand these things, then the application development becomes much more easier. Okay, end of part 3. Looking forward for part 4. Thank you.